don't I have no idea what to expect. I don't know if like a dozen people are going to all of a sudden show up on video on the bottom, or what's going to happen here.
Well, we got some space for more people, so we'll see what happens. This
Yeah,
is I've never been in a big
we
group
do
of
have a
people.
question. So I did kick off the Q&A so people can. Well, we have questions coming in,
Awesome. Good.
and I'll just read those aloud at the once you've done.
I can't talk about any pending litigation, but anything else I think is fair game.
Yeah, I think so.
Getting a little warm.
What was that?
It's supposed to get like 80s today, isn't it?
Dude, I got sunburned last weekend working in the damn yard. It's like 60 degrees, and I came in and I looked like a lobster. It was ridiculous.
0 viewers so far. I don't know.
How many?
Concern.
I don't see anybody on the bottom, but hey, everybody.
Maybe I can.
Whoever's
Maybe.
here.
Hold on. Try something.
When you switch screens like
Yeah, I
that,
don't
does
know
it?
how to see.
You don't mess it up. Don't switch tabs or anything. Are you on staging? No.
I'm gonna open up a.
Oh, and you're pro, right?
On staging?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Go make sure you have two equipment profiles.
Yeah, I do.
Oh God, what did you do?
What about?
Oh, you're on.
Concern.
Yes, yeah, that's not a thing.
I don't see anybody on the bottom, but that was me testing on an incognito browser just to see what would happen. I guess I should just watch my email in case people.
I am pro.
Yeah, it's just the fun part. It's just kind of it's like brew and beer. We're just winging it, you know.
That's right.
Yep, got my 5 gal brewer bag and the kegels.
And you have an 11-gallon stuff, and your yep, your mash thickness looks right. Your one is goofed up on the bottom, but we're not going to use that one, right? What are we looking at? 5.5 and
Oh,
11. Yeah. Okay.
Wait. Oh, weird.
Right, because that one didn't get updated.
Yeah.
Which is strange, because
Hmm.
I've got a script that updated them, but I don't think I ever ran that
I
in
wonder if
staging.
it'll show you the super strangeness I saw.
Well, don't pull up super strangeness on the video chat. It's gonna make us look bad.
Oh man, remind me to show you something.
One viewer.
Oh, howdy.
Welcome, one viewer so far. We are just getting started, making sure that the 30+ people that signed up get in. So just give us a few minutes, grab a beer or coffee, depending on how early it is.
Oh, this has all kinds of good stuff on the bottom of it. Look at that.
Yep. Bottle condition.
Yeah. Wow, look at that. That's gnarly, man. So, brimstone. You mean fire and brimstone? What could this Belgian triple have to do with divine punishment? They have a beer there called. This is from Boom Island Brewing Company here in Minneapolis. And they have a beer there called Zarathustra, and they have some French horns in the tap room. And the guy who runs like the front of house, like the tap room, he'll get the French horn down and he'll play "Thus Spake Zarathustra" on the French horn, just blast it. It's great. But it's one of those French horns without valves, so like it's you got to do it in the Amish or whatever, you know.
Right.
But I guess that's a song you can. Is that like a bugle? I mean, that's what a bugle's like, right? There's no valves on a bugle, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you see the was it the 3 spirals?
This is like when you go to a show and they play totally unrelated music before the band starts. That's we're talking about bugles and French horns. We're supposed to be
You have
talking about
19
beer.
notifications on staging.
Well, I abuse your account a lot for testing, so that's probably the reason.
Great.
I'm going to try something here.
It's probably be better if you drive, because I think you're more familiar with staging at this point.
Yeah, that I can do that.
You need to access
Right, so
the control panel. That's the next workspace over.
oh, over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But oh, hey, that's working. Yeah, check that out. So we're gonna like create a recipe here. and I think we should make like an American Pale Ale. I think that's probably what we should make.
I think we should do an IPA.
Okay. I don't brew as many IPAs.
Give me 1 second. I'll be
Sure.
right back.
Oh God, now we have to keep everybody entertained
And he
while
never-
Michael's
and that was
gone.
The last time anyone ever saw Michael.
Yeah, I have a screaming child. I think he's trying to make his way to me, so I got to head him off. So there are people joining. Welcome, viewers. Just give us a few more minutes to let everybody join, and we'll get started here in a few minutes.
Yeah. Hey.
Now we're alone with them.
Yep. God, we don't even know who they are.
Don't do anything. Don't do anything wrong to this audience.
No.
Just
We'll take care of them. I'm Kyle. This is David. We're from Brewtoad. We're going to talk about Brewtoad today, and we're going to drink some beer. And it's a beautiful day out. You can see us squinting and how bright it is out. Beautiful day in Arden Hills, Minnesota, on the shore of Lake Valentine.
Coming to you live on the lake shore. I don't know what lake that is actually.
That's Lake Valentine, but by
Lake Valentine.
But by lakefront, we're talking like across the freeway over there. So, but you can, when there's no leaves on the trees, you can kind of see the lake across the like 3 yards. But so, okay, we're talking and we're just looking at a blank Brewtoad screen.
Is that okay?
I don't know. It's boring. We should do something with the Brewtoad screen. It's like, let's just make a recipe. What if you were brewing today, David? What would you brew?
If I were brewing today,
Yeah.
I'd brew a black steam beer.
What in God's name? Okay. It's a California common, right?
Yeah.
And it's called Uncle Meat because all of our test recipes are called Uncle Meat. If we could have some music playing during this thing.
Old yakety sax.
Well, I was thinking some Zappa, but we could do that too. If we start talking a lot of crap and people get sick of us and they start dropping out, do we see that on the screen?
No, we have no
We're
way.
just gonna talk to an empty room all day.
Am I the only one who sees? We have 4 viewers at the bottom.
Oh, good, he's back.
Is that more or less than when you left?
I think you got one more in.
Oh, good.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so if you were gonna do a black,
shining?
well, yeah, it goes that way.
Okay, yeah, we're good then.
Yeah,
I was
we're
just
gonna be
looking at
good.
the screen. I thought it might be catching the sun.
No, it's just all the grease on my screen.
I
So-
think one of your buddies joined, Kenny. You know Kenny?
Kenny?
No, Kenny Moatman,
Kenny the
St.
oh,
Paul.
Hi, Kenny.
St. Paul representing.
Actually, Kenny's the guy I'll be visiting later.
Is that Kenneth or Kenny?
Kenny.
Kenny. This your buddy?
Yeah.
What goes in a
Well, he just signed up.
black steam beer? What is that? You're just making that up.
The steam beer with black prints.
Well, yeah, okay. You can just do black anything as long as it's got black prints in it. Well, let's look at
So we lost a viewer.
oh,
We got a viewer back. We're back. I'm wondering if we just kick this off.
Sure. I mean, we can do that. Yeah, because like we don't want to keep people waiting for too long. They'll catch up as they join in.
Yep.
We got-
Okay, welcome to our presentation of Brewtoad. I'm going to switch to myself real quick.
Yeah.
Can he just? Oh, there we go.
There we are.
You guys see me?
Oh my God. Yeah, you're like you got
We
a
see you.
scenic.
I'm in the mountains of Colorado right now.
Beautiful.
And my name is Michael Shear. I'm the founder of Homebrew School. I'm not here to talk about Homebrew School. I actually want to present the Brewtoad software. I'm here with Kyle and David from Brewtoad, and they have an awesome software. My buddies and I use it a lot for our brewing, and we wanted to share it with our audience. So that's why we brought these gentlemen on today, and they're going to demo it, and then we have there should be a Q&A option in this Hangout for you to ask questions, and there's also a chat. And if you want to tweet, the hashtag for today is Brewtoad Demo. So Let us know if you have any questions at the end, and we're going to get started with David and Kyle.
All right. Hey, there we are.
Ah, hello.
So I'm Kyle.
I'm David.
We work on Brewtoad. We're both software engineers here in Minneapolis. What do we establish our credentials? Do we?
Let's see, you've been brewing for how many years?
I've been brewing since about 2003, 2004, so about 10 years probably.
Yeah.
Kind of got serious about it. I don't know how long's Brewtoad been around? 4 years now, thereabouts, right? Started Brewtoad kind of in my free time before you started at A&D, right? So then David got hired, and
I basically started brewing when I started working on Brewtoad, so that's been just a little over 2 years now.
You had brewed beer before that.
Well, I had done cider for a few years.
So we're going to do a little demo of Brewtoad today. This is actually the staging site for Brewtoad, so this is kind of a sneak peek at the next release, which I think is scheduled for what, the 7th? I mean, soon, like next week,
soon.
something like that. So there's a few new features in the recipe editor that we want to demo because there's some cool new stuff that makes, I think, adds a lot more utility, makes it easier to find other people's recipes and brew them on your equipment, which is always a challenge, right? Because everybody's equipment's a little different in terms of your losses and volumes and evaporation rate and all that good stuff. So I don't know. Do we want to kind of dive in and do a demo, or is there anything else we should talk about first? Do we need to do a little intro for people who don't know what Brewtoad is yet?
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could just talk briefly about why use any software at all. I think that's a good question to answer first. Like, what's the point of using brewing software?
Yeah, why not just brew a kit?
Yeah, right.
Why
You
not
can
just
follow
go
the
buy a kit,
instructions.
right?
You can follow the instructions, and it'll probably turn out pretty good.
Have you read the instructions in kits lately?
Not lately.
I did a wine kit recently. They were awful. I couldn't understand what was going on.
Huh, that's weird.
Yeah, so why use Brewtoad? Why would you use brewing software?
Well, I mean the home brewing crowd is a a DIY crowd anyway. So I think the brewing software really meshes well because
kind of grow out of kits quick, huh?
Yeah, kits are fine, but eventually you want to make your own recipe. So you got to have a lot of brewing knowledge, and that helps. But I think having the calculators and whatnot at your fingertips.
Well, and just knowing what goes into a recipe. Like we were just before we started, I was wondering I brewed a California Common before, but not for a long time, and I don't know what goes into one. So we have, for example, some fermentable usage statistics where we've looked at 250,000 recipes and we've broken down the fermentable usages by style. So you can see how do we switch to the I think
Michael's
screen.
Got us overridden.
Oh, okay. Maybe we should switch to the screen because now we're getting into Brewtoad.
Yeah.
It's showing California Common beer right now, so you should be good.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's what's up on the main one.
Yep.
We still see ourselves. We're so
You
vain.
switch click the David box at the bottom.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, so here's the fermentable usage statistics, right? And this is a bunch of statistical analysis of all the recipes on Brewtoad. And what we do is we look at all the data and then we filter out the outliers and stuff. Because if someone creates a recipe with 100 pounds of black malt, that's nobody cares about that recipe. But so California Common beer, right? Like Anchor Steam is the kind of prototypal example of that. You see Two-Row and Maris Otter and Pilsner tend to be pretty common if you're doing an all grain. If you're doing an extract, you might use a light extract, dry or liquid, your choice. Might put some carapils in there, some flaked corn or some rye. Those might be good choices. And then we even we've broken it down in terms of ounces per gallon, because then you can just multiply that number by however many gallons you've got, and that's how many ounces of that ingredient you would want to use. And I've done a fair number of recipes where I don't do a whole lot of research beyond looking at these numbers and picking a few ingredients that I think would be tasty together, and then using the suggested amounts.
So let's look at, maybe we should look at the look at a new recipe and see how we can roll some of that in.
Yeah. So we'll create a new recipe because so you can find someone else's recipe, and that's great. There's like 250,000 of them, but sometimes you just want to make your own.
Yeah.
Even if you start from someone else's, it's fun to tweak it and stuff. And but I think we should go big. Let's make our own. Let's create our own from scratch today, because we're going to show how easy it is.
Yep.
Right. I mean, idiots like us drinking beer at 9:30 in the morning can make a beer recipe from scratch. That says something. So I'll drive, but I think you're going to narrate.
All right. Yeah. So I mean, the first things is probably just the recipe type and style. So we want to look.
Can't type today. Okay.
So we're gonna do it looks like we got it set to all grain. Maibach.
Should we do an all grain or an extract? I mean,
let's do an all grain.
Okay.
I mean, I think
we brew all grain. We
Yeah.
might as well do an all grain.
Yeah,
You
do it
too.
all.
it's a
brew
little
all
more
grain.
fun that way too, because we got to think a little bit more about the ingredients.
All grain.
Yeah, so we'll do an all grain, and why don't we do an IPA?
Okay. We're kind of in that season, or we're getting there. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got a few equipment profiles. What kind of batch are we doing? What's your kegels? That's a 10-gallon batch, right?
Yep. I usually do 11.
Right. You do 11 gallons.
11 gallons.
Should we do 5? That's a little more standard, right?
Sure. Yep.
Let's do a 5-gallon batch. There's nothing to update, but okay. All right. So, what are we going to put in our recipe? It's an IPA.
Well, if we're gonna
right?
follow the
So let's look at the
Follow
usage
the-
statistics.
the Mosher school of thought, we'd start with the specialty grains.
Yeah. You just read his new book. How was it?
It's pretty good. I think, I kind of respect his approach to ingredients. You can tell that he's actually tried a lot of that stuff, and it makes a big difference when, rather than the theory crafters.
Those guys.
The theory crafters.
We're going to the homebrew conference this year, and out in San Diego.
Yeah.
So if anybody else is going to be there, stop by and say hi. We'd love to meet you. You can tell us how terrible we are on the on the webcam, but he's going to be there. I'm sure. He's there every year.
Yeah.
And he usually passes by, and I flag him down and harass him for a minute and tell him what a cool guy he is, and he knows what a cool guy he is, but he's a cool guy. He's a nice guy too. He doesn't tell me to bugger off like you should. Anyway, we're making an American IPA.
All right.
So what's going to go in it? We're going to start with our specialty grains.
Yeah, we'll start with the specialty grains, and I'm thinking, if we're thinking like really bare bones, sort of minimal IPA, specialty grains, there really isn't much.
What are we
right?
going for? We got to start with the theory, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you can't just start putting a recipe together. We going for like a more of a dry kind of very hop forward crisp IPA? We going for a big
Let's
big
say,
sweet like Fulton kind of juicy IPA, or what are we?
We should go for something like, I don't know,
Kind of bready? You want to do some like kilned malts in there, or?
like Torpedo or something like that. Like the big.
Okay.
You familiar with that one?
Yeah.
Sierra Nevada.
Yeah, the Sierra
Yeah, yeah.
Nevada one. All right, but what's in that? I mean, Cascade probably, right? But
Yeah, I would imagine a lot of Cascade.
specialty
But
grains.
there's
Stay
some,
focused. Stay focused, David.
I don't know. I would imagine there's a little bit of caramel.
Okay. Yep.
Let's just imagine that there is.
Okay.
We'll say that there is.
So we'll add some fermentables, right? And how about we gotta keep this thing moving, David. So let's do like some caramel 40. How's that sound? And so here it suggests. So here we've got a amount suggestion, and this is based on the statistics and the batch size. So it's saying about 9 ounces of what we use, caramel 40 in this recipe. So we'll switch to ounces, and I don't know. I like round numbers, so let's do 10. Let's do 10 ounces of that. What else do we want in there? Some kilned malt or some Want some wheat or some
I'm
flake
thinking something
oats,
like a
something
little, like
weird?
throw a little something bready in there, like maybe a few pounds of Victory.
Yeah. Victory, U.S., Reese, from Chilton, Wisconsin. Salt of the earth people in Chilton, Wisconsin. How much do we want? We didn't even look. We should look. We should look to see what Brewtoad suggests. It suggests 8.6 ounces, so I think maybe let's do another 10 ounces just to. We can always tweak this later, right? So now we need to get our base malt.
Oh,
We need to get our gravity up, right? So we can use 2-row. That's
Yep.
probably a good.
Yep, I'd say
Right.
that's the.
Right, and just good old U.S. 2-row, right?
Well, of course.
Rar from out in Shakopee, just across the river. I don't know what, 9 pounds, 10 pounds gets us close, I think. So this is another cool thing. I don't know if you see, I don't know how many people have used Brewtoad or what, but
Yeah, they may not have seen exactly what just happened there when you're flicking through those numbers.
so this is cool. So we've said we're brewing an American IPA, right? So over on the right, we've got these graphs that represent your original gravity, final gravity, IBUs, color, and ABV. And these ranges you see here are representative of the style we're brewing. So it's
And those aren't our numbers. Those are
BJCP styles.
Right.
That's 2 styles we use. We gotta be careful because they own all the intellectual property for all that stuff. So we can't really call them that, but that's what they are. But so as we adjust the numbers here, you can see the graphs move, right? So that's cool. So really, I mean, a lot of this is just it can be this easy. You look at the statistics, you find what's appropriate for the style, you plug in some amounts, and you tweak the numbers until the graphs line up. Like that's pretty.
Yeah,
easy.
now that you've got, I mean, we don't need any other kinds of grain in there, and now that we've got that in there, we can pretty much see more or less certainly what our OG and
color, right?
and color are going to be.
Of course, the final gravity is still really high because we haven't added the yeast yet, and we're at 0 IBUs because we haven't added any hops, right? But and then for the ABV
so why don't we drop some yeast in there and see how that affects our ABV and
I'm thinking
final gravity.
we want to use US-05 because like there really is no better general purpose cheapo dry yeast for pretty much anything than US-05. That's what I say. So. Okay, so we're looking good. We got 10 points of gravity for the final gravity. We're at 7%. That's a healthy IPA. Want to add some hops?
Are you asking me if I want to?
Yeah,
of course I do.
Yeah, okay. So what are we going to put in here?
Well, let's see.
Centennial Cascade, kind of keep it simple.
Yep.
So every man's IPA. So we want to use some Centennial, right? And we'll do a couple of those, and we'll do some Cascade, and we want US Cascade, of course. And what are we looking at? I just kind of added these willy-nilly here, but we're going to want, like, what? Like an ounce of Centennial at 60 minutes? That's pretty standard.
Yep.
Why are we only getting 3 IBUs from that? That's the question. Let's keep going and see what's going on here. Let's do another ounce at 30 minutes. 1 ounce at 20 minutes. This is an exciting like live demo here. So of the new software. So it's possible that something isn't 100% right here. Oh, evaporation rate set to 1,000 gallons an hour. I think that's probably the problem. Let's change that to a more reasonable gallon per hour. Hey, now we have some IBUs.
We need a 66-gallon boil.
Okay. So let's add another ounce at like 5 minutes. Where are we at? That's 68 IBUs. Hey, that's not bad, right?
I think that looks good.
That was kind of crazy. So basically, I mean, let's maybe go into a little bit of theory for what we're doing there, right? So obviously, the earlier you add your hops, the more bitterness you get, and the later you add your hops, the more aroma you get, right?
Yeah, I know. And this recipe is probably, I mean, I'm going to say probably is set to Tinseth right now.
Yes, I'm sure it is.
And you could optionally switch that to.
No. Set the Rager here, dude.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so you could optionally select either one, depending on what you prefer. I'm not really sure.
I'm a Tinseth man myself.
Yeah, I'm not sure why people decide they need to use Rager, but some do. So
to each their own. We support it. So here's kind of our recipe, and this doesn't look half bad, right? I mean, it's a little bit light. You can see here. Oh yeah, we didn't even mention this line is the number, right? I mean that should be pretty obvious, but we're a little bit light in color. We're a little bit high in ABV, and we're a little bit low in our final gravity. But that makes for a more fun IPA, right?
Yeah.
So here's a cool. I'm going to give you, David, and you viewing audience, a sneak peek of a new feature on Brewtoad, which isn't even live today, but will be on the 7th. So this is set up for a 5-gallon batch, right?
Yeah.
So we could scale the recipe for batch size and scale it up to 10 gallons, and we could scale it for mash efficiency, right? Because we're assuming some nominal mash efficiency here, which is like, what, 75% thereabouts. I don't know why you've got that in there. But
testing.
But we can do it all in one shot with multiple equipment profiles, which is a Brewtoad Pro feature, we should mention, but a very valuable one. So we can just choose your Kegels profile, right, and update the recipe. And now, when we update the recipe here, what it's going to do is it's going to scale the fermentables and the hops for the new batch size and the new mash efficiency.
Right.
So we should see these numbers might change a tiny bit, but that's just rounding. That's rounding
yeah, we should
errors,
see that the lines will stay mostly.
But they actually didn't at all.
stationary.
So there you go. But so now, I mean, it doesn't look like much, but now you'll see we're using 20 ounces, which at this point we might want to convert into pounds because we're over 16 ounces. So, and then we're using 24 pounds of 2-row, and you'll notice because we went from like a 5.5 to an 11, we basically doubled all the hops. So now we've got 2 ounces for this.
And notice it gave us some nice round numbers too.
Yes, it kind of tries to keep you sane by not giving you super precise but impossible to measure.
Of hops.
Yeah, right. I mean, unless you're a drug dealer, you probably don't have that kind of scale, so it's probably hard to measure. Let's save our recipe. It's time. So here we go. Here's our recipe. You'll see here now we've got some properties for our recipe, and it lists out those same properties we saw in the graphs. We've got little arrows to indicate where stuff is low or high relative to the style. But of course, you don't have to brew to style,
right?
Unless you're entering beer in competitions. And I think you should just brew what you want to drink. That's what I think. But so here's our recipe. So here's another cool thing, right? So we just created a recipe, but that's kind of advanced maybe for some people, right? I mean, there's a lot of people who are not yet feeling comfortable to create their own recipe, but they should try because what? I mean, you're out a few hours and $20, $30, it's no good. So,
yep,
I say do it. Have you ever had a beer that was so bad you couldn't drink it?
I did. It was
okay.
It was a. It had just way too much caramel. It was one of my lagers, and it just had so much caramel in it. It was horrible. So ever since then, I've always told people, you can, like, it's hard to ruin a batch of beer with too little caramel. But you can definitely ruin it with too much.
I did a smoked beer. That was like a wet campfire. I tried to make barbecue sauce out of it, and even that was terrible. It's the only batch I ever dumped. Be careful with that smoked malt. That stuff is.
So this is also really good for research too. Like if you're just trying to get a sense for like what's typical within a style, or maybe not what's typical, but maybe what's popular, what's sort of trending within a style. So if you pick a style here, we can see we've got ranked recipes within that style. And that rank is based on a number of things. Is it being within style one of the factors? Yeah.
Yeah, conforming to style.
Yeah, so conforming to style, and also like how many comments a recipe has, if it's got notes.
How many variants have been created?
Oh, we should look at that. Let's look at variant creating.
Well, let's find a recipe and then we'll create a variant of it. How about that?
Sure. Yeah. So.
Nominal ingredient usage, right? Recipes which stay within the guidelines for how much is appropriate for the style, rank a little bit higher, and all that's weighted to
and brew logs.
But so okay, so we were wondering about a California comment earlier, right? I don't brew a lot of those, and I love Anchor Steam, but I don't drink a ton of it. So
Yeah.
So what else do we want though? Because we can search on all kinds of stuff, right? We chose the style. Now
well, maybe
we
we should
whittled
look
that
at
down to about 1,500 recipes, but that's a lot.
yeah. Let's maybe look at extracts and.
So you want to do an extract recipe? We'll do that. The lobster steamer.
Lobster steamer.
That's a great name for a beer. What else? Light tetanus shot ale. What else do you think we want to? Because now we're down to 110, but that's still kind of a lot.
Well, I think let's select hops. 'Cause we're gonna be purists about this and say that you have to use Northern Brewer.
That's that's the hop for that style, isn't it?
Yeah. So we're gonna eliminate all the non-pure hop users.
Well, we're down to 29 now. You see any of these you like? The lobster steamer, man. That's
still in there.
Let's take a look at that one. So that's a 4.5 gallon. Now, so here's the thing, like, who brews 4.5 gallons? I mean, Four River Brewing Company apparently does, but
Right.
but not me. And it's a 30-minute boil. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? You ever done a 30-minute boil?
I haven't.
I mean,
I
I
know
don't see
it's
why you could.
possible, but
We're using the old California lager yeast. We got Northern Brewer, and we have some New Zealand Cascade. That's an interesting twist. But so let's create a variant. You want to talk about what variants are? That's a cool thing.
yeah.
I'll click the button, and you can
sorry.
talk.
When you said let's, you actually asked me if I wanted to talk about it. Sure, I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, just creating a variant is it's sort of just like copying somebody else's recipe to your account, but it retains that inheritance. So you can see after you've saved it that its parent will remain that other person. So you can kind of get these long chains of varianted recipes through multiple generations and how they've changed. You know, it'll be interesting to see years from now just like how long some of those get. I mean, that Citrus Single IPA has already got.
That's the Genghis Khan of beers, basically. You go back far enough, that's where you're at.
Oh yeah.
You want
yeah,
some more? Speaking of?
Maybe 100 variants right now.
Yeah, that's a popular
and that's one of the neat social features on Brewtoad. But you know, you're also able to comment on other people's recipes, try to strike up a conversation with people, and that's kind of fun. It's worked for me a few times, I guess.
So we're doing we're creating a variant of this guy's recipe. Well, the first thing probably is, since we don't want to brew 4.5 gallons, let's choose one of our equipment profiles.
Yep.
So let's do the 5 gallon this time. How's that sound? Okay. So I think
15111.
Yep, this is 1,000 again. Your equipment profile, your numbers are set all crazy. This isn't a bug with Brewtoad, it's a bug with David. David thinks he boils off 1,000 gallons an hour.
You don't know that I don't.
There. Now that's a more reasonable 29 IBUs. So, what? These numbers still look good to you?
Yeah.
Okay. You got 4 pounds of extract. See, interesting. We're using extra light and Pilsen. Right. But of course, if we want, we can swap one of these, right? Like if we just want, you know,
for some reason,
regular light liquid extract, we can just swap that out, no problem. And I don't know about this New Zealand Cascades. Do you think that's what we want?
Seems a little shady.
Yeah. I think we want King of Grapefruit here. That's totally not what we want in this style, but that's what we're going for now. So anyway, yeah, here's our recipe. And you know, it's a little light, so we could always add a fermentable, and we could add some, I don't know, your favorite. You were talking about a black...
Black Prince.
Yeah, you were talking about a black steam beer, right?
Yeah.
So we could add like, what, 4 ounces maybe?
That might be too much.
Probably too much. Yeah, maybe we'll do 3 ounces. That's actually going to get us to our color. That would be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Why not? So see how fun that is? Like, we don't know what we're doing, and there, we know what the color is going to be. It's lined up with the style. It's going to be an interesting experiment. You're going to brew this today, right, with Kenneth?
I'll brew it tomorrow.
Okay. So what else do I look at? Oh, we can obviously convert to metric if we want. That's kind of crazy.
Let's see if there's any of the broader topics that we haven't hit on.
Yeah.
talked a little bit about the social aspects. We've got lots of stuff on. Oh, you maybe want to pull up something with some history on it, so we can see like that variant,
yeah.
the variant tree.
Yeah. How about the citrus single hop IPA?
Yeah, of course.
That's a good one. So 52 variants, right? And of course, some of them are me doing some testing, but if we ignore those, now it's kind of nested like this because you can have variants of variants, right?
Right.
You can go as deep as you want. So there's a lot of beers that have been inspired by Samuel Nietzsche.
Yep.
Samuel should come to the homebrew conference and say hi. He's kind of a celebrity on Brewtoad, but we've never met the guy.
Yeah.
We've met
Don't forget-
Biochem Brewer. He comes by every year. He's a good guy.
Let's see. Did we talk? Did we want to touch on
Give you some
any of the other
tools.
pro features? Oh yeah, we could. Let's look at the tools section really quick. We've got quite a few different calculators, and hopefully we're gonna get some more in there pretty soon.
Yeah, so we'll go to, this is the current Brewtoad site. We'll look at the tools on here. Maybe like the mash water calculator. That's something.
Yeah.
What if we're going to brew this beer today? Well, maybe we should do a little overview of the tools, right? Because there's a few of them. There's a mash water calculator. There's a mash infusion calculator. That tells you how much water at what temperature you need to add to go from one temperature to another in your mash. That's kind of a tough thing to do by hand, or at least irritating. There's the alcohol calculator. That'll tell you what your ABV is going to be, and there's a color converter. That's useful when you're looking at malt analysis sheets. They'll tell you, Wireman or someone will give you the malt colors in EBC. You want them in
Right.
SRM, right? So you can convert. Malt potential extract, also useful. That will take your dry basis coarse grind and your dry basis fine grind numbers and convert to potential. It's useful for determining how much potential sugar is locked up in your grains, which is a good thing. Hydrometer temperature correction and pitch rate. Now, of course, Jamil Zanishev, his Mr. Malty, is the gold standard of yeast calculators. But ours is good too. But you should check his out. It's written in Flash, which is kind of a drag, but I think he used to work for Macromedia back in the day, so that's why.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
But you can put in your measured gravity 1.067 and your wort volume, and it's telling you need 3 vials or smack packs of yeast, or make a starter.
Make a big giant starter.
Yeah, be a man, make a starter. But that's, I don't know, what else do we want to look at? We want to try to open it up for some questions. Does Michael want to take over the mic and tell us that everybody left and no one's listening anymore, or what? What else do we want to talk about or look at?
Not everybody left. We stayed consistent at 3 and 4 viewers. I think that when somebody doesn't make the window active, it drops the count. So there may be people listening, but
oh, good.
Not totally sure. We do have a question.
Yeah.
If someone I'm going to just click select here and see what happens. Maybe it comes up on the screen. Oh, okay. It doesn't. If someone posts a recipe which has a small mistake in it, which can always happen by chance, how will you deal with that?
Okay.
Well, certain mistakes will prevent you from saving the recipe at all. So, if it has, let's see, what are those rules? If you can't post it without a name. You can't post it without any.
It needs a yeast.
Yeah, you got to have a yeast in there.
It needs to be at least 1% ABV, right?
Yep.
A few other things like less than 100 SRM or something, just to kind of keep the riffraff out.
Yeah, so it kind of prevents you from making the dumbest of mistakes, but
we had one of these recently. Someone wrote us an email and they said, I found a recipe on Brewtoad, and what was it? He said the extract was added in the mash, which is obviously not right, or something like that.
Yeah,
and I mean, you wouldn't dump malt extract into your mash tun. That's weird. But I mean, the simple answer is we don't do anything about it. Some people make really crazy recipes on Brewtoad, and who are we to stop them? What we do, though, is rank the recipes, and depending on, I mean, if you know, if we can determine that it's obviously goofy, we'll rank it lower.
Right.
So in
Well, I mean,
theory,
there's
those good recipes
a few
bubble
different
up.
aspects there, because there's a small mistake. I mean, if you put a mistake into your own recipe and then you brew it, it's kind of like, well, you know, maybe you should pick up a home brewing book, because we aren't really going to instruct you on how to construct your recipes. That's really up to the users. But we do sort of protect people from other people's mistakes, just because of the ranking system.
Yeah. And of course, comments and stuff. You'll find recipes occasionally where someone will ask a question like, "Why did you do this?" And the guy will say, guy or gal will say, "I don't know. It was a mistake. Sorry." Then they fix it. You know.
Yeah.
But really,
would checking brew logs on recipes as well help people if they're cloning to prevent, like, if does a brew log show you mistakes in the process or mistakes in the recipe?
It can, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, if they recorded them.
Well, but I
Right.
mean, so for example, we'll calculate your ABV, right? And if you're based on your original final gravity. So if that number's off, right, based on what's predicted, if it's sufficiently off, that would indicate an issue, not necessarily with the recipe, but with the process of brewing the beer, right? Maybe you didn't have a healthy pitch of yeast. Maybe you didn't hit your final gravity for some other reason. But certainly looking through brew logs, or I mean, my buddy brewed a beer and he said in his brew log, "This is the worst beer I've ever brewed. Don't brew this." But he wanted to keep the history that the beer was that he brewed it,
that it
right?
did exist.
But it was terrible,
Yeah.
and he told everybody. I hope nobody's brewed it. Some poor bastard didn't read the brew log and did. Now he probably hates Brewtoad, but
yeah, I've got a few recipes out there that I've left comments on, just like, yeah,
this is okay.
This is
Yeah.
You may want to search for greener pastures.
Yeah. So I think that answers that question, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, Michael, do you have any questions?
Sorry, I had an interruption with a child. Yes, another question. What is the difference between the free version of Brewtoad and a paid version of Brewtoad?
Ah.
Okay. So, yeah, so we've just got a handful of features that we've identified as being more, you know, I guess, for the more serious brewer.
Power user type of stuff.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to think. The one that I use all the time is the multiple equipment profiles.
Yep. Because sometimes you'll do a 1 gallon, sometimes you'll do a 5 gallon. We did a 15 the other day.
Yeah, I've got a kegel set up, so I usually do 11-gallon batches, but I also really like doing 1-gallon smash beers. So just being able to flip back and forth between the profiles is handy.
We have a hop substitute reference, so if you're at the homebrew shop and they're out of the hop you want for your, which happens to me every time I go to the homebrew shop, they're out of the specific hop that I want.
Yeah.
So it's a substitute reference.
Yep. We've also got
private recipes are big.
Oh yeah, that's the other big one. So if you're trying to get a little more serious about your brewing and you're trying to, you know, brew that secret beer for a competition, having private recipes could be important to you.
There's some nano breweries and you know, real small commercial operations who use Brewtoad, and they need to keep certain things under wraps.
Yep.
So the ability to create, we do have in the free version, you can create draft recipes. So if your recipe's not quite ready to be unveiled, you can save it as a draft. Yep. But there's limitations. You can't put brew logs against drafts.
Right.
You can't comment on a draft. You can't create a variant of a draft. So the private recipes are the full-blown recipes with all that stuff. But
and of course you can have brew logs hanging off of them, and those brew logs would be effectively private too, because you can't hit them.
But we're always looking to expand the pro offerings, but we recognize that the free version of Brewtoad, which has the full recipe editor, basically the entire site, that's the core of the user base, and that stuff has always been free and will always be free. That's kind of the bread and butter of the site. But the reminders is another big one, right?
Yeah.
Brew day reminders. So when you create a brew log, there's a lot of stuff you got to do on brew day, right? Add your hops, pitch your yeast, all that stuff you do day of. But then there's other stuff later, like dry hopping, right? Packaging
secondary,
your beer, right? Secondary,
stuff like that. Yeah, so you can set up multiple reminders, and it'll give you some defaults right out of the box. But then you can set up your own reminders if you've got to do multiple steps down the road. Like if you've got a diacetyl rest for a lager, you can set up a reminder like, all right, time to pull it out.
Right. Yep. And those are just emails, right? You just get an email.
And it'll also doesn't it show up in your notifications?
Yeah.
Yeah. Show up in your notifications too.
That's a cool feature. That's pro only.
Yep. That's a pro feature. There's always talk about adding new pro features and moving certain pro features to the free offering and juggling that stuff around.
Yeah, this is just sort of the balance we've got struck now, but I'm sure it'll change.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're
And
just software engineers, we just write the code.
and so the last question for the purpose of that we're recording this is, how do people go sign up for Brewtoad?
Well, you go to brewtoad.com, and in the top right corner of the page is a link to sign up. And you enter your email address, and you pick a password, and you choose your name, which can be whatever you want, and you're signed up, and you start creating recipes. I mean, it's pretty easy.
In the pro version,
the pro, you got to enter a credit card and stuff, but it's your normal sign up and with a card.
Awesome. And it's only $2.99 a month for Brewtoad.
Yep,
the
Brewtoad
pro
Pro,
version?
the free version, free, or about $20 a year. You can do a year up front. That's what most people do. You save a little bit of money, and you help support us and keep us brewing, which is much appreciated.
Absolutely. That's why we're here today, too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, gentlemen. I don't have any more questions, and I think we can wrap this up. So, Kyle, David, I really appreciate you guys demoing the software. I'm going to get the recording done and out the door as soon as possible. I'll repost. I'll actually look over what the Google Hangout actually created, and then I'll share with you guys and on social, and so more people can learn about it.
Great. Michael, thanks for setting this up. We had a lot of fun. At least I did.
Yeah.
Sitting around drinking
Awesome.
beer, and it's nice out. Get to talk about brewing, and this is great.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And thanks to the 4,000 people who were watching the whole time.
They can hit 4,000, yeah.
Yeah, much appreciated. Come hang out at out in San Diego this year. There's a dog back there.
All right. Thanks, all. Appreciate it. Appreciate
Thanks,
everybody's
guys.
time.
See ya.
All right, bye now.
Have a good one.